Good morning. It's Tuesday, August 13th, and today I'm going to talk about something that everybody is familiar with. This is an activity that is part of daily life. When you go to a restaurant and you finish your meal, in addition to the cost of the meal, there's usually some tip that you are prepared to give. Now, sometimes you write that tip on the bottom of the bill, or sometimes you will give the waiter or waitress or the server or whomever cash on the side. But in any event, we do a lot of tipping beyond going to restaurants. There are many other situations where you have to tip somebody, or you feel you have to tip somebody. You go for a ride in a taxi cab and you give the guy a tip, or somebody delivers a package to your house and you give that gentleman a tip. And then you go around and somebody gives you some kind of service that you had expected or something like that, and you give that person it. And now there's a movement afoot where taxation on tip should be eliminated. And I say, when I think about it, that sounds okay. But then when you really look into the situation, you recognize that there are many, many potholes in this particular area of business, because the tips come in various different places and they are not recorded. True, when you go to a restaurant, or you go to something similar to a restaurant where there's a bill and your tip is put on the bill, that's easily taxable. But it's not so easy for the guy who mows the lawn for you and you give him an extra couple of bucks or something for collecting money on those tips, because you're relying on the person who got the money to report that income, and that's not happening more than maybe 10% of the time. So when they talk about no tax on tips and the politicians love it, I don't believe they have the whole picture of what tipping really is and the way it operates in our society. So I'm probably against it. And there's no way to eliminate tipping, because it's a courtesy. It's an act of gratitude. And do we want to do away with those acts of gratitude? No, we do not. And I tell you, it's extremely difficult to collect all the taxes that you should on this, because there's so many ways in which the tax declaration can be avoided. And I can understand why politicians are in favor of it, because they think they're going to get votes, more votes. If they can eliminate the taxes that people are charged when they collect tips. But then there are many businesses that do not pay their employees a proper salary because they know those employees are going to get tips. And management doesn't collect any part of those tips unless there's a very unusual situation. So this business of what to do about tipping and whether or not to tax it is a very, very complicated process. Extremely complicated. So you have Donald Trump running for president and promising everybody that he's going to eliminate tipping as part of the taxes that we are collecting as a country. And you've got Kamala Harris, who's making the promise promise to everyone, when I am president, we will continue to fight for working families, including to raise the minimum wage and eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality. That's what Harris told a crowd at the University of Nevada in Las Vegas on Saturday. And these two politicians are not the only ones that are talking about no tax on tips. That idea is gaining bipartisan political steam, as they say. In fact, Ted Cruz, a Republican from Texas, introduced a No Tax on Tips Act in July, and he had the support of Democratic Senators Catherine Cortez Masto and Jackie Rosen from Nevada, and the powerful Culinary Workers Union, Local 226, had a companion bill that was introduced by Representative from Florida, Brian Donald, and it's also making its way through the House of Representatives. But to the senior fellow in the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center, Steve Rosenthal, said this idea is a bad one. He said, we are in campaign season, which is a silly season. And Rosenthal, who has years of experience designing tax bills for Congress, said a race to the bottom would be a better way to describe the tax policy here. The idea fails on 3 counts: equity, efficiency, and revenue. And I have to agree with him, because people are getting tips from many different places that are not the usual places. And then it becomes incumbent upon that individual to take it upon himself to declare that money as taxable. And that's not going to happen. So if you are a person who has some kind of profession and occasionally gets a tip, you're not going to report it. And maybe the tipper should be responsible for reporting it. Maybe the tipper should get a tax break because he issued a tip. How about that? So as far as I'm concerned, this whole issue with the tipping is much too complicated for me to come to the proper conclusion. And I don't believe the politicians can come to a proper conclusion either. So as far as I'm concerned, they should leave the situation as it is and think about more important things. So I leave you with that this morning. Have a great day. Bye.